Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Raider Rojo with Raider Productions, and today I'm going to show you start to finish how I created this BMW keychain. Check it out. So I'm going to go with the BMW logo for this example. So what you're going to do is you're going to find a picture that you like. You're going to right click, save image, and you can see that I've already got it saved, so I'm not going to resave it. And you're going to go over to Fusion 360. Before you get started on the actual image, what you want to do is you want to just create a quick sketch of the size of the keychain that you want to do. So I typically recommend for keychain sizes, especially perfectly round keychains like the BMW logo, is to start with a 50mm base. So this is just going to give you a reference for how big, when you go to add the image, how big it needs to be. So then once you're done with that, you're going to go over to the insert tab under solid. You're going to select the canvas icon, the picture icon, insert from my computer. Select the logo that you want to work with. You're going to try to select the actual grid icon, not the canvas itself, because we're not going to use this. We're not going to use this canvas except for this part. So then we're going to scale this to the size that we want. So you're going to start with X or start with Y, whichever one you want to do. And then you're just going to replicate it exactly between the two. Whoops. So one thing to note, if you do mess this up, so you saw that I switched from X to Y. Once you switch back to X, if you go to adjust it, this 2.85 essentially turns into 1. So if you select 1, it doesn't actually change the size of the image itself. So to make any sort of adjustments, so say I wanted to make it bigger, you would have to do like 1.1. Or if you wanted to make it smaller, you'd have to do 0.9. That's just a note that I thought I'd add in there. Whoop, not 21. And I think that looks good, so we're going to confirm it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn off this sketch. We're going to add a new sketch, same thing, on the origin point. Now we're going to create another circle, same size, so 50mm. Now that's going to be the outside of our keychain. And then we're going to create another one. This is going to line up with this area of the keychain, so our centerpiece. Now we're going to use the straight line to create the 4 pieces. Now for the lettering, it gets a little interesting. So if you go to create just regular text, normally what you do is you just create 2 points, type whatever you want to type, and then that would be the end of it. But since we've got a curved plane, or since we've got a curved lettering, we got to do something a little different. So we're going to cancel that. We're going to go to create arc, 3-point arc. So we're going to start at the very beginning of the very first letter that we want to do, and we're going to finish at the very end of the last letter that we want included. Then we're going to go up to the center. We're going to curve it. And now what we're going to do, because if we go to do the lettering right now, it's going to be right on the edge of that. So we're going to go to offset under modify. We're going to select that. And then we're just going to line it up with the very bottom of the lettering, however we want it. Then you're going to confirm. Now we're going to you're going to select text on path. You're going to select that new surface that you replicated. And then you're just going to type whatever you want. So, awesome, obviously. So since I'm in a previously used save file, it's going to save. So now what we're going to do is we're going to adjust the height until it's a good height that we think works for the system. So I think 7 is a good starting point. And now the spacing between the letters doesn't really work for this because they're all kind of scrunched up over here. So to change that, you're going to go to character spacing. 200 is a little bit big, so 50, 165. So we want the letters, the font isn't going to be absolutely perfect. You just want something that you think looks good. Sorry, I just really like round numbers. Try that now. It's a little wide, so we're going to go 160. Okay, 165. It's good to start with like a denomination of 5 and then kind of adjust between, because then you get a good idea of where your letters are starting and that kind of stuff. So that looks good. We want it above the text or above the line. Okay, so I think that looks good. We're just going to confirm it. And now I'll delete that so we don't need it anymore. So now then, I think that the logo looks really good. There is one more thing that we need to do before we finish this. You're going to go to the center diameter circle again. You're going to select a point. This is going to be, you're going to create 2 different points. So, or 2 circles. So the first one's going to be 6 millimeters. And then you're going to go straight back to that point. And the second one's going to be 10 millimeters. Now you can use the trim tool by either pressing the scissors, or you can press T for the letter shortcut. And you're going to trim off the interior stuff. So what this is this is going to be where your keychain actually hooks. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do before we finish the sketch is we are going to offset this outer edge just a little bit, just because we want to replicate that little silver exterior or outside piece. So we're going to do -1. Again, because I like round numbers. Now we're going to finish the sketch. What we're going to do is we're going to select all of the pieces. We're going to extrude. So you can either do that by pressing the extrude button in the top left, or you can press the E key on your keyboard. Then we're going to do -5. I choose -5 just because I think that this is a good thickness for the keychain. You choose whatever size that you want. And then you press OK, or you can press Enter. So before we move on, the only thing when it comes to 3D printing, or when it comes to the keychains, I really like the 5mm for the actual keychain itself. However, the hole that I use up at the top, the chains don't fit through it through 5mm. So to fix that, you're just going to extrude it again. You're going to do -1, and that's just going to make it wide enough for your chain to fit in. Now you can see right here that it's just the base for the keychain. This is not going to be the actual keychain itself, because it hasn't transferred any of the text or any of the logo icons that we've created during the sketch process. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to select all of the pieces that we want to be separated. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do a -2. So this, you don't want to go all the way through unless, because it's going to make it easier, because you won't have a million different body pieces when you go to transfer this. Now that you've got all of the pieces created, or you've created a negative all of the pieces, what you're going to do, you're going to slowly go through all of the individual pieces, and we are going to create new bodies for them. So the way you do that is you extrude it, and then you make sure for operation, new body is selected. If it's set to join, it's not gonna, it's just gonna join to this initial body, and it's not going to be a separate piece, obviously. So then, okay. Now we're gonna do these two, extrude, -2, new body, extrude, -2, new body. Now, for the lettering, we are gonna have to recreate the negative. So you're gonna create the negative space, and then you're going to go back and you're gonna extrude it one more time. Same thing. Make sure you select new body. Okay, and now you'll notice you've got all of these bodies on the left side. So you can see that I've created a couple of coasters, or a couple of keychains. What you want to do now is you want to create a group. This just helps keep everything organized. You're going to double click it. That way the letters highlight, and then you're just going to change it to whatever you want. BMW. Can't spell. I got caps lock on. And then you're going to select it, and then you're going to hold shift and select the bottom body, and you're going to drag it into the folder. So now we're done with the sketch. We no longer need this. So just so I can show you guys what I'm talking about when I talk about different body parts, I'm going to show you really quick what you can do. Now I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about when I talk about the different body parts and why it's important. So you can go to appearance, press the A key on your keyboard. Now this isn't necessary because this is going to save once you go to convert it to an actual 3D file. So you can see those parts are the white parts, and then as well as the letters. And now you saw earlier that those are individual pieces. So you can see if I turn off the main body, you can see that that logo is still there all the way through. So then to bring this keychain over into your slicing software, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to save each of these individual body pieces as meshes and then drag them in all together. So you're going to right click on the body piece. You're going to select save as mesh and then OK. Now this doesn't matter. This is just if you want to save it to a project within the cloud. You're just going to minimize that. Down here is where you want to save it. You want to save it to your computer. So I've got a spot that I keep all of my stuff. Save it, and then you're just going to do that for everything. Now you don't have to on every other piece. You don't have to change the spot because it's going to remember where you saved it. Okay, so now that you've got all of the pieces saved, you're going to open up Bamboo Studio or whatever slicing software that you use. Keep in mind this will only work if your slicing software can save as a 3MF file. Now, I don't know about Cure and all of that, but I know Bamboo Studio. Now, you're just going to go to the Prepare tab. This is going to leave you with a blank file. You're going to select the Add button in the top left. Go to wherever you save the keychain parts. You're going to select all of them and then Open. It's going to ask you if you want to save it as or open it as a single file with multiple parts. You're going to select Yes. Now, you're just going to change the colors on the left side to whatever you need them to be. Now, there's two different ways you can adjust the coloring from here. So you can either use the paint tool. Now, I don't recommend this because it won't get the backside, but you can do it. What I typically recommend doing is figure out whichever one is your base. So typically it's the very first one. And then from there, you're going to select all of the other pieces. And from there, you're just going to select all of the other pieces. And you're going to create them. You're going to move them to the correct color. Okay, now that you've done that, you want to make sure that it's facing the correct orientation so that way this little lip is facing towards the top. You don't ever want this little lip facing towards the bottom or else it enables supports and it's just a waste of filament. So now that you've created that, we're going to slice the plate. Okay, so after you slice the plate, you're just going to print the plate. You're going to make sure that you've selected the right printer. Now, this might not be an issue for you because typically starting out you only have one printer, but I've got, I think, a dozen of them. And so you're just going to make sure the right one's selected. Make sure the right colors are selected here. Sometimes it likes to mess them up. So I'll just show you. It'll do things in weird orders. So you just want to make sure that all of the right colors are selected in the right part. And you're just going to, if you want time lapse on, you can. I highly recommend keeping auto bed leveling on because if you haven't manually leveled your bed in a while, this helps out a lot. Then you send it. Go to top left, file, save project. You're gonna select that spot.